Next item on our agenda is the superintendent's report.
Okay, in regards to council meetings, there was no curriculum advisory council meeting since our last board meeting. A facility advisory council, there was no board meeting. I do need to update the Board of Education that I believe we have reached a tentative agreement with White and Company in regards to repairing the pool. We're on our third fix now, and they have adopted a plan that was designed and approved by our engineer, the district's engineer, to put a supplemental unit over the spectator area that would provide the additional CFMs required to get us up to the design specs of the 24,000 or roughly 24,000 CFMs. So unless there's any concerns tonight or feedback from the Board of Education, I've reviewed the plan thoroughly for the last 2 or 3 months. Mr. Hatchie, Joel, myself, Brian Berg, the district's representative from Berg Engineering, have gone back and forth with White and their engineers, went through several proposals, and I think we have a solution that will rectify the pool situation.
And the financial impact to us?
The financial impact to us, as of this time, I believe, is none, with the exception of our bills for our consultant to ensure our interests are protected. But I believe White will be paying the bill again for the supplemental unit and the installation.
Okay, the only concern I have is that the original design on the original unit, is there additional stress being put on that unit because of the way it's designed? And is that going to have a financial impact us down the road because of the additional stress on that unit?
They were unable to answer that when we asked that question back when we were talking about the turning vanes or changing out the silencers. We are no longer changing out the silencers in the elbows. So what we're actually going to do is the primary unit will just provide the airflow to the pool area and the pool deck, and the supplemental unit will provide the air to the spectator area. Whether or not there's been a wear or tear on the original unit since the installation and some of the problems we have identified over the last 3 or 4 years has decreased the life expectancy of that unit. That's to be determined. But I think we're at a point where we're trying to get this resolved and
So
wait to cover.
we're going to take on that risk.
It's something that Carrie put in the facilities assessment is somewhere over the next 10 years we need to be prepared to purchase a new unit over.
Right, but because we've had that continuous, and we're not going to fix the flaw, the next unit will be stressed.
I think this will fix the flaw of it will not decrease that pressure drop that you're discussing, but it now will decrease the amount of area that the airflow has to cover. It'll decrease the square footage of pool space because now that will only be responsible for the pool deck and not the additional spectator.
So could you just follow up to ask the question?
Sure.
Is that going to continue to have a stress on that unit? And if we get a new replacement, will that not have an additional burden because of the way that thing's designed? That's my only concern.
Okay.
Any other questions on that? We're coming up.
Along those lines, if the new unit we're putting in there, is it going to fit the existing ductwork without major change?
No, we're not putting any.
No, I'm talking about when we replace it in 5 years.
5 or 10 years.
Well, that's Gary's question.
Yeah, but I think we need to. That's not what we're trying to fix with White.
Right.
That's not part of the agreement that White and us entered into.
Right, but it'd be nice to know if it's
Well, I'm
still-
sure our engineer will tell us yes, that we're going to have to make some additional fixes, and I'm sure their engineer is going to tell us, no, we don't need to make some additional
Well, let's
fixes.
see what our engineer says. That's
So,
fine.
I just want to say something right now. Kevin did a great job keeping pressure on White and making sure that we got this issue resolved, so I appreciate all your help.
So we're coming up on the 5-year anniversary of putting that pool in service, and we may get it into a condition that it was supposed to be in 5 years ago.
Yep.
I think, the pool deck air quality has improved with the addition of the return vents and the additional ductwork. That being said, the overall amount of CFMs that need to be put in there won't be able to be reached without the additional unit. So the nature of our agreement, I'm holding them to the agreement, and they're complying with the agreement to get us to the amount of CFMs that it was originally designed to produce, and our engineer is signing off on it.
You also got to remember, it's like you point out, Mike, it's 5 years later. there was initially some finger pointing between who was responsible, and Kevin got them focused. Got to give White some credit. They did step up, even though they're not our architect anymore, and weighing all the alternatives, because John and I push Kevin the same way. Why don't we just make him rip it out and put it in exactly how it was designed? You know, we weren't going to get that. Nobody was going to agree to that. That would have required probably going to court, and whether we would have been successful was very iffy. So, given the range of alternatives that were available to us to resolve this problem, we think that this appears to be one that's going to work for the air quality, although it might not completely address whether, you know, in 5 years we're going to have to replace something a little sooner than we would have, or change the way it's designed when we do replace it.
Okay,
Finance Advisory Council, we met back in June to prepare and review the budget. The board will be voting on tonight. The budgets, we did not meet in July, but the tentative budget has been updated with May financials. The June financials, the June 30th financials will be available later this month, and Tim will dump those in and get those to the board in early August, so that there's plenty of time to review the June 30th financials to the proposed budget before official approval takes place in September. Personnel Advisory Council, no meeting as of this time, and Policy Advisory Council did meet. There's a press packet for under old business, I believe, to be approved, as well as a new technology policy that will address acceptable use. I did have one additional meeting earlier this week, which I think there's some representatives in the crowd, and there is an agenda item dedicated for the RB Theater program to speak. But I had a nice meeting with some of the theater parents for about an hour and a half with Ms. Smetana and myself. And I think a lot of the issues or concerns that they had, we addressed and were clarified. There's still some concerns that they'd like to see some things brought back to the theater and the arts program that were originally cut back in 2010. I did reassure them that as of this time, the Board of Education is not looking to reduce or cut anything in the fine arts or theater program. And we went through some of the items that are in the contract that the board agreed to with the union in regards to stipend and funding programs. And I believe they were pleased to hear that. And I think they'll still have some concerns tonight that they want to propose to the board, and that we can address later on in the meeting. But that is it for the superintendent's report.
any questions for Kevin?